So I figured I'd start with this one. This is pretty recently. It aired 3 hours ago, but I feel like it's rare that we actually get to see. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my pillow. I feel like it's rare that we ever actually get to see our politicians go on Al Jazeera. To be honest, like I rarely ever see them go on. So, and I know that most Americans don't even watch Al Jazeera. I think Al Jazeera is straight up banned in Israel, so they're probably not going to be able to watch this either. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to watch it because I would guess that maybe less people are going to see it, and hopefully it'll be some unique stuff that you can get when you tune in to Technically Clay. So I'm just going to go ahead and let her rip. This is exclusive. Marco Rubio tells Al Jazeera U.S. war objectives in Iran will be achieved within weeks. Ooh, okay. Al Jazeera English. Let's go.
Rubio, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. You're speaking to a global audience across Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Arabic, and our digital platforms, reaching viewers across the Middle East, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Iran, as well as millions more around the world. Let me start by asking you this. Have formal talks begun with Iran, or are they still in direct communications, exploring common ground?
Well, there's messages and some direct talks going on between some inside of Iran and the United States, primarily through intermediaries, but there's been some conversation. And I think the president always prefers diplomacy, always prefers an outcome. And we could have done this before. I mean, imagine...
I'm not so sure, because Iran offered you literally everything the United States could have ever wanted, like packaged up with a nice pretty little bow put on it, and they offered it to you, and you essentially smacked it out of their hands and spit in their face and said, no, we're going to war with you anyway. So you got to forgive me. I have a hard time believing that you didn't actually want to go to war here.
An Iranian regime who, instead of spending billions of dollars supporting terrorist groups and building up all these weapons, had invested that money into Iran, for the people of Iran, so they wouldn't have water shortages, so their economies would provide opportunities for an incredible people. The people of Iran are incredible people, very resourceful, very entrepreneurial, but it's the regime that's been a problem.
See, this is the problem, though, is we see the North Korea model. The North Korea model exists. It shows what you have to do if you want to have full sovereignty, is you need to race to a nuke as soon as possible. You need as much deterrence as possible to make it as painful as possible for the United States if they ever decide to fuck with you. And that's what Iran did. They didn't race for a nuke, but they raced for as much like ballistic missile and drone capabilities internally produced so that they would be able to, continue even if they were militarily like embargoed or whatever, right? Like they set up their entire economy because they knew that America was going to do this one day. Whether Iran created the ballistic missiles or the drone program or not, America was going to do this one day. America was going to fuck with them one day, because that's just what America does. Any country that tries to have sovereignty, America will come in and fuck with you until you give up your sovereignty. We're seeing that in Cuba. We saw it in Venezuela. We see it all over the place, and that's just how America operates. So their whole goal was to create enough of a deterrence to be like, if you want to come and fuck with us, then your people, the entire world, is going to pay a huge price. So that's why they did it. And saying that it would have been different if they invested that money into their economy or whatever is completely ridiculous, because America would have invaded them like 20 or 30 years ago if they did that, if they didn't build up as much deterrence if they had. There's a reason that every president before Trump decided not to do this, and Trump was the first one who actually decided to do it, right? It's because, their strategy generally kind of worked for the past 30, 40 years.
And instead, they've chosen to spend the wealth of their country to support Hezbollah and Hamas and Shia militias inside of Iraq, and to try to destabilize Syria when Assad was there, and all over the world to sponsor terrorist plots and build these drones and build these weapons to threaten their neighbors unnecessarily. So we would always welcome a scenario in which Iran was led by people that had a different view of the future and had a different view. And if that opportunity presents itself, we're going to take it.
What are your main demands for Iran at this particular stage of the war?
Iran can never, the Iranian regime can never have nuclear weapons. and they need to stop sponsoring terrorism, and they need to stop building weapons that can threaten their neighbors. These short-range missiles that they're launching, they only have
They're
one.
not allowed. Yes, they're not allowed to have any weapon, any speck of gunpowder. They're not even allowed to have guns. So they can't have anything. That's this is just, you're just giving up your sovereignty at that point, which they're never going to do.
Purpose, and that is to attack Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar and Kuwait and Bahrain. That is the range of these weapons. And they have thousands of them. They've built extraordinary numbers of them,
Hundreds of
and not to
thousands.
mention, you know, their desire to have this nuclear weapon to threaten and blackmail the world with. That will never be allowed to happen. It's too great a risk.
What would you consider to be the
They don't have a nuclear weapon. I don't even think they're currently on the path to it, although maybe they are now because we did all this shit. But they don't have a nuclear weapon. It's not going to happen. And if anyone's going to use a nuclear weapon, it's going to be fucking Israel.
the minimum concession from Tehran to bring this conflict to an end?
I think they have to take demonstrable steps towards ending any ambition of having nuclear weapons. If what they want is nuclear energy, there are multiple countries in the region that have or will soon have nuclear energy, and they're going to do it through a well-established
Gotta
mechanism.
ask, what could they have done, right? What could they have done to show that they didn't want a nuclear weapon? Because they tried literally everything. They tried everything they possibly could to demonstrate that they didn't want a nuclear weapon. And you intentionally chose to not believe them because you wanted to go to war with them for some reason. And that was the easiest reason you could think of.
That everyone else has agreed to, and that is that you allow imported fuel you import the fuel, and that fuel is used to power up your power grid and provide energy resources for your people. What they cannot have is a system that allows them to quickly weaponize it. They have to stop making all of these drones and all of these missiles. We saw recently where they've lied. They said they didn't have long-range missiles, and then they fired two that extended well beyond the range of what their own foreign minister just a few days earlier said they didn't have the range to reach. So they have to abandon all these weapon programs and all of their nuclear ambitions.
My question to you is, what the fuck are you going to do about it, Marco Rubio? Like, seriously, what is America going to do about it? The only way to make this happen is to occupy Iran indefinitely in the same sort of Afghanistan style model that we did over there. If we occupy them indefinitely, then sure, we can destroy all those drones or whatever, and they can be a complete, they can have a puppet government that runs while we're there. As soon as we leave, though, the IRGC will just take over and start building them again. So it's like, yeah, well, okay, go for it, Lil
And if
Marco.
they do that, then Iran's future can be bright. But they have to choose that path, and for 47 years they've refused that path.
Iran said it rejects the US demands and is setting its own conditions, such as the financial compensation and also recognition of its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Are those demands acceptable from an American perspective?
Not only is the sovereignty over the Straits of Hormuz not acceptable to us, it won't be acceptable to the world. No one in the world can accept it. Number one, it sets an incredible precedent. So this means that nations can now take over international waterways and claim them as their own. The United States could do that now.
If you fuck with them enough, sure. If they have enough deterrence and power to do so, I guess so. That's the world they want to live in. That's the world they've created in the post-Gaza international world order, where might makes right. If Iran can do it, then sure, under the new rules that you've created, then yes, they get to do that.
The Chinese could do it in the South China Sea. No one in the world is going to accept that or should accept that.
Those are the rules you
now,
created.
Let me be frank, very little of American energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz in terms of the energy we rely on, but we recognize the impact that it has on global markets and on our neighbors, especially our allies in the region who produce energy and have to get it out to market. So no country in the world should accept it. The regional countries in the world should accept it. The United States will not accept that condition. It's an illegal condition that they're demanding. That's just not going to happen.
Oh yeah, international law.
Yeah,
you care a lot about international law now. All of a sudden, Marco Rubio
continues. There's no clear indication that the Strait of Hormuz is secure enough to restart the flow of oil and gas into global markets. Are you consider a plan to ensure full control over the entire strait?
Well, the Straits of Hormuz will be open. When this operation is over, it will be open, and it'll be open one way or another. It will be open because Iran agrees to abide by international law and not block a commercial waterway, or a coalition of nations from around the world and the region, with the participation of the United States, will make sure that it's open. One way or the other, it's going to be open. But
how? I keep asking how. Like, what are you going to do? They will, the moment you start escorting ships, they will start just blowing the shit out of your ships. Your ships will all sink to the bottom of the ocean. All of these countries that are going to go in there in a multinational coalition or whatever, every single one of their ships will be sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Like, how are you going to do this? I don't understand.
Very clear
I still
objectives
don't get
that
it.
we're trying to achieve here. Those objectives are the destruction of their Air Force, which has been achieved, the destruction of their Navy, which has largely been achieved, a significant reduction in the number of missile launchers that they have, which we're well on our way to achieving, and we are going to destroy the factories that make those missiles and those drones that they are using to attack their neighbors and the United States and our presence in the region. We will achieve those objectives. We are well on our way, or ahead of schedule. We will achieve them in weeks, not months. And then we'll be confronted with this issue of the Straits of Hormuz, and it'll be up to Iran to decide.
Oh, I forgot to say, congrats everybody. We made it through another week of no no boots on the ground in Iran. That means we got until Friday when the markets close, everybody.
And if they choose to try to block the Straits, then they will have to face real consequences, not just from the United States, but from regional countries and from the world.
Your regional allies in the region, the
allies.
Critical energy installations are being bombed. The
missile
cities
sponges
bombed
is what I call them.
almost on a daily basis. And they're looking for a clear path back to stability. What would be your message to them?
Well, I think the best way to stability, given the people who are in charge in Iran, is to destroy the ability of Iran in the future to launch these missiles and these drones against their infrastructure and civilian populations. If you think about what they've struck in the region, what has Iran gone after? It's been energy infrastructure against countries that were not waging war against them, but yet they went after these countries nonetheless. This is why they built these missiles and drones in the first place. But they've also attacked embassies, diplomatic facilities, which is unheard of. They've attacked airports, which is unheard of. This is what they've done. And this is a weakened Iran. This is an Iran that's weaker than it's been in 10 years. Imagine 5 years from now or 3 years from now when they had more missiles, more drones, what they would have been willing to do to their neighbors and to us. That was intolerable. That's why this needed to be done now. The United States is committed to finishing the job. We're working very closely with all of our allies, work very closely in defensive. Yes, unfortunately, drones and missiles get through from time to time, but the overwhelming majority of these launches are defeated. They're shot down before they reach their intended target, or the destruction would be far worse. These are strong, stable countries in the region.
For now, for now, they're getting shot down. The estimates are that interceptors are going to start getting real low pretty soon, is what I've read from various articles. At which point all of the interceptors are going to be going to Israel. They're not going to be going to these Gulf states. So they might start getting hit a lot harder pretty soon.
These are our allies. These are our friends. And we are going to continue to be there and support them as they face this onslaught. And by the way, they're not the ones. Iran is targeting them in retribution, which tells you the nature of the people we're dealing with, unfortunately.
But it seems that the Strait of Hormuz is not going to be the only focal point for you, because with the Houthis stepping in and firing missiles into Israel, Bab el-Mandeb and the Red Sea could become issues that you will have to reconsider.
It could, and look, that's been an ongoing issue. And when they did that, the United States took action against it as well, and many of our regional allies have had to.
How did that go, by the way? Anybody remember? How did that go? I seem to remember the United States saying, fuck it, we're going to make an agreement with the Houthis where our ships can, our ships are just going to leave, our warships are just going to leave and our ships can go through, but the Israel ones can't, or something. If I remember correctly, that was kind of how that ended up. So, and they were just fuck it with the rest of the world's ships. So, yeah, I don't think we couldn't do it back then. I don't know why we'd be able to do it now.
Do so in the past. It's the desire, whether it's the Houthis on one side or Iran on the other, to close these international waterways and create a toll road where basically you have to ask for their permission in order to use them and get your products in or out of market. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to us, but it should be unacceptable to the world. And I think it's important, and I'm glad to see the effort Bahrain is leading in the United Nations, which we've been very supportive of, to get an international coalition that says we will not accept a world and where either the Iranians on one side or the Houthis on the other get to control international waterways and impede the free flow of goods from nation states.
There's nothing you can do.
That's just not something we're going to accept, neither should the world.
Do you have any issues with Mujtaba Khamenei staying in power once this is over, and the IRGC continuing to play the crucial role it plays now?
Well, let me say, first of all, we don't even know if he's in power. I know they say he's in power. No one has seen him. No one has heard from him. It's very opaque right now. It's not quite clear how decisions are being made inside of Iran. But our objectives here from the very beginning had nothing to do with the leadership. But would we love to see a difference? Do we think the people of Iran deserve better leadership than what they've gotten from the clerical regime? 100%. Would we be heartbroken if there was a change in leadership? Absolutely not. If there's something we could do to facilitate that, would we be interested in participating? Of course. But that was not the objective of this operation. The objective of this operation was which I outlined now, and the president outlined clearly on the first night.
I seem to remember regime change. The words regime change were uttered quite a lot at the beginning of this. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm pretty sure that Trump and you potentially also mentioned the word regime change like so much at the beginning until it became obvious that it just wasn't going to happen, which, I mean, anybody with half a brain could have told you that, which is why you shouldn't have said it. But
is the destruction of their Air Force, which we've achieved, the destruction of their Navy, which we've largely achieved, the destruction of their factories, which we are well on our way to achieving, meaning factories that make these weapons, and significantly reducing the number of missile launchers that they have so they can't continue to threaten their neighbors and America. Those were our objectives. That's what we're focused on, and that's what we are well on our way towards achieving.
Are you fully aligned with the Israelis when it comes to the objectives and the end game?
Well, they have a different objective in terms of they are focused on the mid-range missiles in the northern part of Iran that target them. And obviously we coordinate and deconflict with them in terms of our operations. But what they are focused on is different. We're not critical of it. Those things are threats to them. Those mid-range missiles that Iran launches that reach into Israel, those are threats that they're facing. They're also facing a threat from Hezbollah, which they're confronting as well. So they have their own objectives. We deconflict so that our objective...
Confronting, aka getting all of their Markava tanks like thrown into the incinerator.
And theirs don't run into each other. But the president has, for the United States of America, has established a very clear mission, which we're executing on, and we will achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks.
Do you believe the EU and NATO countries betrayed the US at this crucial moment?
I think it was very disappointing. You have this, and again, look, the president and our country will have to re-examine all of this after this operation is over.
Do something about it then.
But one of the reasons why NATO is beneficial to the United States is it gives us basing rights for contingencies. It allows us to station troops and...
Yeah, see, exactly. And this is why you're not going to do shit about NATO. This is why you are not going to leave NATO. As much as I want you to do that, this is why you're not going to do it, because it is a mutually beneficial agreement to United States empire. And so, and especially to the capitalist class that requires the United States empire in order to make their super mega profits or whatever. So you are not going to do shit. Trump isn't going to do shit. He's just going to whine like a little bitch about NATO. While continuing to do everything that every other president ever has always done to continue to prop it up and support it.
Aircraft and weapons and in parts of the world that we would normally have bases. And that includes in much of Europe. And to see that in a time of need, the United States has identified a grave risk to our national security and our national interests, and we needed to conduct this operation. And we have countries like Spain, a NATO member, that we are pledged to defend, denying us the use of their airspace and bragging about it, denying us the use of their bases. And there are other...
Well, you've also been straight up just fucking with the EU for the past year and a half or whatever since Trump was elected. You've essentially just been fucking with them, like slapping them in the face over and over and sticking your finger up their butt. Like that's basically all you've been doing to the EU for the past year and a half. And then you're like, oh, but I really need your help right now, guys. It's like, well, yeah, no, fuck you. I'm not that's how I would feel.
Countries that have done that as well. And so you ask yourself, well, what is in it for the United States? And I've been a big supporter of NATO. And one of the reasons why I've been a supporter of NATO is because I believe that these basing rights give us leverage and give us flexibility and operational capability all over the world. But if NATO is just about us defending Europe,
that's exactly why I don't like it.
They're attacked, but them denying us basing rights when we need them, that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States. So all of them's going to have to be re-examined. All of it's going to have to be re-examined.
I've recently spent some time.
Get rid of it. No, they won't do it. Don't worry, everybody. Don't worry, liberals. If you're watching this, liberals and neocons everywhere, you can breathe a sigh of relief. I technically, Clay, give you permission to breathe a sigh of relief, because it is never going to happen.
Time in Europe, and basically what they say is that it's the US which is sending confusing messages to us. It's the US which is planning to disengage from Europe. It's the US which doesn't seem to be really willing to team up with NATO when it comes to moving forward in Europe, and this explains the reason why we have been very cautious dealing with the Americans when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz in particular.
Well, if that's what someone in Europe told you, that person's very disingenuous, because the United States has tens of thousands of troops stationed throughout that region, billions of dollars of weaponry staged throughout Europe. Yeah. All of it there to defend Europe, not to defend America, to defend Europe from attack. Okay, all over. The United States is without the United States.
See, I also think from their perspective, they really need to start thinking about this a little bit more, because if the United States gets into a hot conflict with Russia or a hot conflict with China, all of those bases that are in nearby countries, like inside of Europe or inside of Japan or Taiwan or whatever, right? All of those bases are going to become valid military targets for them to hit. And they will have a lot more, like even more capabilities than Iran has. So just something for my European NATO members to think about if they really want to have all of those missile sponges that we so lovingly placed all over your country.
There is no NATO. I mean, everyone recognizes that, including NATO. If we decided tomorrow that we were going to remove our troops from Europe, that would be the end of NATO. So they know that. And that commitment, that we haven't moved troops out of NATO. So anyone who said that's not being honest or is not, I think they're playing games. At the end of the day, it's very simple. NATO is an alliance, and an alliance means has to be mutually beneficial. It cannot be a one-way street. Let's hope we can fix it. We'll have time to address it after. Right now, we're focused on this operation.
Let's move on to something else. I would like to talk to you about Venezuela after the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Could you tell us more about your plans for Venezuela in the future?
I think it's moving along very well. We said it from the very first day after that operation happened. I said our hope is, number one, to stabilize the country. We didn't want to see civil war. We didn't want to see systemic collapse. We didn't want to see a mass migration event. You've seen none of these things. What you've seen is that for the first time in decades, Venezuela is now selling their oil in the global market at full market price, and the money is coming back to Venezuela and being spent for the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
I mean, that might be, I don't really know what changed, to be honest, when it comes to the oil situation in Venezuela. My understanding was that like they were going to have a bunch of American capitalists go sit over the top of the companies like they did before the revolution. And just skim money off the top was like kind of what I thought the whole deal was, but I don't know if that's how he would frame it.
It's being spent to buy medical goods and equipment. It's being spent to cover the salaries of teachers and police officers and civil servants and people that sanitation workers and things of this nature. So it's a very important part. The second phase, after the stabilization occurs, or concurrent with the stabilization, is a period of recovery in which you try to recover the elements of the country that allow it to prosper and grow, and that is
that's where all the vulture capitalists come in and start, I don't know. This is what happens usually when you end up giving up your sovereignty to America, is that the American like pedophile class of like the Epstein elites or whatever, they come in, they swoop in, and they buy stakes or valuations in a whole bunch of different companies and industries or whatever, essentially taking them over to start skimming super profits off of the top, where those industries or whatever previously would have been like nationalized, right, where the government decides how to distribute the profits from those industries. So that's like what usually happens. And it usually ends up leading to the general immiseration of the people who live there over time. Like there might be a short-term boost in quality of life from America not fucking with you as much, but then inevitably over time you just start, all of your profits just start getting siphoned into the pockets of our, billionaire pedophiles here in America. And then comes another revolution, which then renationalizes it. So, it's like Dante's circles of hell or whatever. I don't know, where we just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
attracting businesses back, creating the kind of stability that bring businesses back. We're seeing that begin to happen. But you're also seeing civil life come back to life. Independent media is now.
Yeah, I don't really care that much about this stuff, to be honest. Him just like, I don't know, just straight up lying about what's going to happen for Venezuela. Yeah, it won't be good, but who knows? Maybe America will collapse by then, and Venezuela can quickly renationalize their natural resources. But